Some children don't lose their childhood in a single moment. They lose it quietly, one responsibility, one silence, one swallowed emotion at a time. It begins softly, almost invisibly. No alarms go off. No one points it out. You're 7 years old, looking into the face of a parent who is unraveling. Maybe it's an addiction. Maybe it's rage. Maybe it's the emptiness of someone who's emotionally absent. And without anyone explaining it to you, something ancient and instinctive settles into your mind. If I don't keep this together, everything will fall apart. That's how a child vanishes. Not from the room, not from the house, but from themselves. They start smiling more than they feel. Crying becomes rare. They learn to read the mood before they speak, to sense tension like a sixth sense. They become the emotional regulator of the home, the peacekeeper, the stabilizer. They grow into miniature adults long before their nervous system is ready, and the world applauds them for it. You're so mature, you're so responsible, you're so strong. But no one ever asks the most important question: what did it cost you? This is the silent mourning of those who were forced to grow up too early. And today, we're going deep into the psychology of that child, because the damage doesn't disappear with time. It follows you. It shapes your relationships, your career choices, your self-worth. And if you never understand what happened, you'll spend adulthood repeating survival strategies that once kept you safe, but are now slowly draining the life out of you. Let's start with what's actually happening in the developing mind. When a child is expected to emotionally support adults instead of being supported by them, psychology calls this parentification. The child becomes the caretaker, the mediator, the emotional anchor, the protector. This isn't just unhealthy, it fundamentally alters brain development. When a child is repeatedly responsible for managing emotions, either their own or someone else's, it creates hypervigilance. You're constantly on alert. You scan for danger. You tiptoe around emotions. You learn that love must be earned, that peace is something you provide in exchange for safety, that your needs are risky, but other people's needs are emergencies. So you fade, not physically, but emotionally. And in your place, a highly functional version of you emerges. The good child, the achiever, the dependable one, the therapist friend, the person who never needs anything. You wear this role so convincingly that eventually, even you forget it's a disguise. But something inside still hurts. Something aches. Because the inner child you silenced didn't disappear. They're still there, asking in a voice no one ever heard, why didn't anyone protect me? As you grow older, the consequences deepen. You might become fiercely independent, rejecting help and pushing people away because reliance feels unsafe. You might feel strangely empty during moments of joy, as if happiness is unfamiliar, undeserved, or temporary. You might struggle to rest because productivity is the only way you ever learned to feel valuable. And the most dangerous part, you may not realize you're still living in survival mode. When chaos is normalized early, your nervous system treats it as home. Calm feels wrong. Peace feels suspicious. Love feels like a debt you'll eventually have to repay. This is the psychology of a child who grew up too fast. It's not just sadness, it's complex trauma that reshapes how you see the world, and more painfully, how you see yourself. You might wonder why any child would take on such a role. The answer is simple and devastating. Children will sacrifice themselves for attachment. The decision is never conscious, it's biological. When safety isn't available, The child trades authenticity for belonging. That's not a weakness. That's intelligence. That's survival. But here's the tragedy: what saved you then now traps you. So many adults walk through life highly capable, highly functional, and deeply disconnected from their unmet needs. We overachieve to earn love. We stay quiet to avoid rejection. We take care of everyone while secretly wishing someone would finally ask, "Are you okay?" And that fantasy that one day someone will notice you're not as strong as you appear. That you'll finally be allowed to fall apart and be held. That longing doesn't belong to your adult self. It belongs to the child who never got to be a child. Healing doesn't start with fixing yourself. It starts with witnessing. Because until you acknowledge what happened, you'll keep minimizing it. It wasn't that bad. Others had it worse. I turned out fine. But fine is just another mask, and deep down you know it. So what happens to these children when they grow up? They become adults who can't relax, even in safe spaces. They become partners who struggle to trust gentleness. They become givers who don't know how to receive. They apologize for their tears, flinch at praise, and confuse burnout with accomplishment. This is the price of growing up too soon. If your childhood taught you to be strong instead of soft, silent instead of honest, responsible for others while neglecting yourself, then adulthood becomes a life of holding your breath, waiting for permission to finally fall apart. Here's the truth. No one told you. No one is coming to rescue the child you abandoned to survive. You are the one who must go back for them. You are the one who must say what was never said. You didn't deserve that. You were just a child. You're allowed to rest now. This is the beginning of shadow work, not performing, not fixing, not bypassing pain with forced positivity, but turning toward the parts of yourself that were left behind and saying, "I see you, I hear you, I'm not leaving." It's not gentle work. It asks you to feel grief you never had time to feel, to sit with anger, sorrow, and longing, to mourn the birthdays where no one showed up, to grieve the innocence you lost while protecting people who should have protected you. But that grief isn't weakness, it's healing, because what was frozen is finally thawing. In adulthood, these patterns often show up quietly. You might become the emotional anchor in every friendship, but never reveal your own pain. You might be praised for independence while secretly fearing you're a burden. You might overfunction in relationships, fixing, managing, explaining while resentment builds beneath the surface. You might struggle with boundaries because saying no still feels like betrayal. These aren't personality flaws. They're learned coping mechanisms. And the good news, anything learned can be unlearned, but only when you stop worshiping your strength and start honoring your wounds. One of the most powerful questions you can ask your inner child is, what did I need that I never received? The answers may come softly. I needed reassurance. I needed comfort. I needed permission to play. I needed someone to tell me it wasn't my fault. And slowly, gently, you begin offering those things to yourself. Not to rewrite the past, but to stop reliving it. This is how you stop looking for parents in romantic partners. This is how you stop confusing anxiety with intuition. This is how you stop running from who you were and who you're becoming. Carl Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." Shadow work demands that you face all of yourself, the scared, the angry, the neglected, the ashamed. Because healing isn't about transforming into someone new. It's about remembering who you were before survival became your identity. If you grew up too fast, understand this: your maturity was never the issue. The tragedy was that you had no choice, but now you do. You can choose softness. You can choose rest. You can stop managing everyone else's emotions and start honoring your own. It won't be instant. Some days you'll feel like a child again. That's not regression. That's return. Let that child come home. Let them cry. Let them play. Let them finally be seen. You were never broken. You were surviving. And now you're becoming whole. Maybe for the first time, you're finally growing up, not through pressure or fear, but through truth. You didn't get the childhood you deserved, but you still have a future. And this time, you get to write it.